Okay. So we've been advised that we're live on the air and we're being recorded, so we can call the meeting to order. Roll call is first. Donna, do we have everybody we expected?
Yes, Chris Carpenter and Lori Chadwick will be absent though. So those two
Okay, thank you.
members.
All right, so having done that, is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest from any of the members? Seeing none, a lot of shaking of the heads. Thank you. Minutes were pre-circulated, dated August 22nd. In quite a while, we've had kind of a hiatus, 3 months. So the minutes were pre-circulated. A motion to either amend or to accept the minutes, please. Tom and Tony. No addition, deletion, correction from anybody? All in favor of the minutes? Carried, unanimous, thank you. So that gets us to our first item. We're a touch early. I'm just looking to see who's going to be here with us on this.
It indicates 5 o'clock on the agenda,
Oh,
Mr.
does it?
Chair. Yeah, as well as on the notice.
Minutes, fine, it does, you're right, sorry.
No worries.
Okay, so on this first one, we have Debbie Hanson and Brad Smith. You want to turn your cameras and mics on, please? Thank you. And Donna, I guess you can read the application. They're here.
Application for minor variance A1722, Greg and Deborah Hasten, 342 Aloha Drive. The purpose of the application is to request relief from the following subsections of zoning bylaw 2065. Subsection 7.1.3 III establishes a minimum interior side yard width of 3 meters 10 feet, and subsection 5.29B establishes that the nearest wall of any building or structure is to be set back a minimum of 15.2 meters 50 feet from the water's edge where approved shoreline protection works have been installed. The applicant is proposing to construct a 2-story home having a building footprint of 391.6 square meters, 4,215 square feet, including the garage and covered porches, resulting in an easterly side yard width of 1.52 meters, 5 feet, and a rear yard setback of 11.68 meters, 38 feet, 4 inches from the water's edge. All existing structures are being demolished and the boat well and in-ground pool are to be filled in. The subject property is designated residential in the Tecumseh official plan and zoned residential type 2 R2 in the zoning bylaw 2065. The following correspondence was received. Engineering, the existing services should be investigated to confirm existence and respective conditions. The driveway approach shall follow the town of Tecumseh standards. A driveway permit through Public Works will be required when the property is developed, separate to that of a building permit. The owner is to submit details on how stormwater from the development of the lot is to be controlled and prevented from flowing onto the adjacent private properties to the satisfaction of the chief building official. The building department, the owner shall review with the building designer to ensure Ontario Building Code requirements are met at the time of permit applications. No comments from fire services. IRCA's comments are as follows. IRCA has no objection to application for minor variance A1722. The above noted lands are subject to our development, interference with wetlands, and alteration to shorelines and watercourses regulation under the Conservation Act, Ontario Regulation 15806. The parcel falls within the regulated area of Pike Creek. The property owner will be required to obtain a permit and/or clearance from IRCA prior to any construction or site alteration or other activities affected by Section 28 of the Conservation Authorities Act. IRCA advises that the property owner will be required to obtain a permit from IRCA prior to any construction or site alteration or other activities affected by Section 28 of the Conservation Authorities Act. Any development and/or redevelopment proposals might only be considered if supported by a shoreline engineering study that is prepared by a qualified shoreline engineering consultant.
Okay, thank you, Donna. You've reached the end of the recitation. So we have with us Mr. Hazen and Mr. Smith. Which of you, or if both of you, if you want, would like to speak to this application? Let us know if there's anything extra we need to know that since you submitted it.
Greg, I can speak first and then you can follow up if I miss something.
Okay.
Basically, yeah, so we're dealing with IRCA currently right now. The shoreline is the boat well and pool are being filled in as we speak. And the reports are being done by Challenge Engineering or Rick Patterson's office in Tecumseh there. They're doing the review and the report to satisfy IRCA. So once that report is complete, then they can issue their permit and send it to the Tecumseh, the town of Tecumseh there, building department and planning department. Yeah, so that should satisfy the their requirements moving forward. Other than that, we're looking for that relief on the one side of 5 feet, just to get the type of design we're looking at. It's for the type of house, it's good sized lot, but we wanted to approach a different way, and I think this should just give us the relief we need.
Okay, Mr. Hazen?
Yeah, I think as Brad says, it's the relief is really just on the east side, and it's really just for the garage. I think the rest of the house is set back about 7 feet. And on the west side of the house, it's 10 feet to have better access to the backyard.
Okay. First of all, with your sketch, it was really neat to see the chart that you have up there, because I had a question about lot coverage, and that's dealt with in the chart. So I think that's almost the first application I've seen where they actually had a chart that covered all the measurements that we would probably question. So
There you go.
congratulate you on that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brad.
Any of the members have questions? Daniel or Tom or Tony or Paul? Tom.
Yeah, just through you, Mr. Chair. I guess just a question. So the IRCA permit is currently, or the engineering is currently underway for the IRCA permit. So I guess any recommendation tonight would be just contingent upon receipt of that permit, correct? I mean, if we were to approve this tonight and the IRCA permit was denied, this approval would have to go back.
Actually, I think if that was the case, they would have their permission on encroachments and building closer to the water, but they can't build anything until they get a IRCA permit. So that would be the final thing they'd have to do. They have to do whatever they need to do to satisfy IRCA so that they go ahead and build. So I don't think it makes we don't need any contingencies on that. I think it's sufficient. I think, Greg, did you get a copy of the IRCA letter?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so
And
I mean, the purpose that they put that in there for is to make sure that you knew what you were headed for if you did get this relief. So you'll have to get a permit from them anyway, and it won't affect whether we give the relief or not. Okay.
And to ease everyone's mind, the same contractor that did the shoreline previous on that lot is doing the work to finish the boat well And it's Rick Patterson has done like lots of these engineering reports, and he feels very confident that this is just a process basically to complete. So everything should be passed with ease.
Okay, well, that's good news for the Hazens, but it's really not the thing that we're looking at tonight. So, Tony, you got your hand up.
Just a comment.
I'm
Mr.
sorry,
Chair.
wait a minute, Tony. Hang on, Tony. Tom, are you done?
Done. Thank you.
Okay, good. Okay, Tony.
Just a comment, Mr. Chair, to the committee members. Typically on this, there would have probably been already a permit issued for shoreline works from the Conservation Authority. That would have been prior to all the infilling and that. And then before the building permit is issued, they'll receive another permit actually for the construction of the dwelling.
That was my
Right,
understanding.
And that permit would undertake to satisfy them that this could be closer to the shore than our thing allows, that our OP allowed, or our planning documents allow for. Would be safe to do, as long as we agree with that. Okay, sorry, Greg, I'm sorry.
No, we had previously had approval to build within 15 feet of the existing deepest aspect of the boat well, but that put the house too close to the road. So that was our logic behind filling in the boat well. It really wasn't an advantage for us. So when they take up the pool, they can expose some of the dead men, and that's part of the engineering report, or will be.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Daniel or Paul? Paul?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I was just wondering if the neighbors have been contacted, or if there is neighbors, is there any complaints or any suggestions from them? Or
Donna, we haven't gotten any inquiries from neighbors on this?
No, I haven't received any information or calls pertaining to this property.
I drove out there today. It's a very nice area, and there are neighbors, and I guess they're good neighbors. Thanks for that.
Yeah, we've spoken to them in the past, and they had no issues with it. So it circulated around this last month.
Okay.
I've not heard.
Chad, do you have any comment on the encroachment in the backyard?
Mr. Chair,
Other
just
than-
that, no, we're at an administrative level, we're supportive of the variance, and we feel that it meets the 4 tests.
All right. Okay. Anybody else? Ready, Tom?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I would be prepared to make a motion to approve the application for minor variance A17-22, is it? As I think it meets the 4 tests. I think the owner has done a good job putting the site plan together, and I think it fits the neighborhood. Yeah, for all those reasons, I'll make the motion to approve it.
Okay, support by Paul. Okay. No further discussion? Seeing none? All those in favor? And opposed? There's nobody? Okay. Thank you. It's been approved, so. Next step for them, Donna, is,
Thank you
There's
very
a
much.
20-day appeal period,
right, okay.
following
So
which notification will be provided.
Yeah, and so don't dig any foundations for 20 days, I guess.
Thank
Just so you don't have to move them.
you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Okay, so next we have somewhere in here. Application for minor variance 905 St. Pierre Street, Lot 7. And with us for that is people who are with us for this one can turn on their cameras and mics, please.
Yeah, but they'll have the guy who's putting that too, right?
It won't allow me to put my camera.
No.
Okay, just give me a sec here. So Andrew is here, all right.
Yeah, that's what they may not.
Julie's here. Resident, and residents. So
Won't allow me to put my camera
I'm trying to figure out Jeffrey Butler and Andrew Butler, so. I presume, Andrew, you're going to speak to this, right?
I will be, yes.
Okay, Donna, can you read the application, please?
Application for minor variance A 18-22-169-0062 Ontario, Inc., 905 St. Pierre Street, Lot 7. The purpose of the application is to seek relief from the following subsections of zoning bylaw 1746. Subsection 5.10D, which establishes that existing lots may be developed if they have a minimum frontage of 12 meters, 39.4 feet. Subsection 5.1A, which establishes that no parking shall be permitted within the site visibility triangle defined as 9 meters, 29.5 feet from the point of intersection of street lines. Subsection 5.30I, which establishes 2 parking spaces per dwelling unit, and subsection 5.42D, which establishes a minimum of 1 off-street parking space for an accessory residential unit. Subsection 5.33B, which establishes the minimum distance between a driveway and a lot line shall be 5 meters, 1.6 feet. Subsection 5.33C, which establishes a minimum distance between a driveway and an intersection of a street line, is 9.15 meters, 30 feet. And subsection 7.1.10B, which establishes the minimum exterior side yard width is 5 meters, 16.4 feet, and the minimum interior side yard width is 1.8 meters, 5.9 feet on a corner lot. The applicant is seeking relief for the construction of 155.6 square meter, 1,675 square foot, 2-story residential unit having an exterior side yard width of 1.43 meters, 4.7 feet, and an interior side yard width of 1.22 meters, 4 feet on an existing lot having a frontage of 9.1 meters, 30 feet. As the applicant is proposing to have a 74.4 square meter, 801 square foot accessory residential unit in the basement of the subject dwelling, relief for 2 parking spaces abutting the municipal alley is also being sought. See attached sketch. The property is designated residential in the Tecumseh official plan and zoned R2 in the Tecumseh zoning bylaw 1746. Comments from engineering. The parcel and neighboring parcel 905 St. Pierre will need to be serviced with separate water supplies, storm and sanitary sewer systems to the satisfaction of the town of Tecumseh Public Works, Water Division, and Building Department. Based on the town GIS, existing storm and sanitary services at 905 St. Pierre appear to encroach onto the neighboring parcel and will need to be adjusted so that all respective services do not reside partially on the neighboring property. If the driveway is to be reconfigured, it must be completed to the satisfaction of the Public Works Department and in accordance with the town of Tecumseh standards. Building Department, the proposed construction may have impact on partial separation and unprotected openings permitted. The owner shall review the building designer to ensure Ontario Building Code requirements are met at the time of permit applications. In order to prevent stormwater runoff from adversely affecting abutting properties, a satisfactory grading and drainage plan will be required before the issuance of a permit in accordance with the town's grading, filling, dumping, and topsoil removal bylaw and subject to a field inspection of the retained and severed lot. No comments from fire. ERCA's comments are as follows. ERCA has no objection to application for minor variance A18-22. We have reviewed our floodline mapping for this area and has been determined that this site is not located within a regulated area under the jurisdiction of ERCA, Section 28 of the Conservation Authorities Act. As a result, a permit is not required for Section 28 under that act. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. We got a letter sent to us in our email this afternoon, Donna. Did you read that into the comments?
Oh, no, I did not. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Correspondence was received this afternoon from Julie Shields as follows. In brief, my concern is safety due to the proposed changes providing an increasingly limited visibility when at the stop sign at the corner of St. Pierre and McNorton. At present, with the cars that park along the south side of McNorton, it is very difficult to see the traffic that travels east from the intersection of Les Bronze and McNorton. With the addition of a two-story building proposed to be 4.7 feet from the curb instead of the currently required 16.4 feet for the side yard, it would be extremely difficult to see. Currently, the site visibility triangle from the point of intersection of street lines is 29.5 feet. Less than this would be a hazard to drivers at the intersection of St. Pierre and McNorton Street. Thank you, Julie Shields.
Okay. I see Ms. Shields is on the call right now. So maybe we can get a comment from her in a minute. Chad, this property is not severed at this point?
Mr. Chair, the property consists of two underlying complete lots within a registered plan of subdivision. So that it's 60-foot wide property, but there are two 30-foot wide existing lots within registered plan of subdivision, which means that both of those can be conveyed or sold.
So it will not need a severance. Okay.
No.
I just wondered if we were jumping the gun a bit there. That's good. Good to know. All right. So I lost Andrew. There he is. Hi, Andrew. Anything you want to add to this? Having heard the recitals? Go ahead.
Yeah, I've gone over what I've been forwarded and emailed, and for the most part, it looks like everything's good. I got the green light from ERCA, thankfully, because that's a headache that I get to avoid. When I read Julie's email, though, I think there's a degree of confusion because I'm not requesting relief so that the property that I'm proposing is 4.7 feet from the curb, but rather that it'll be 4.7 feet from the lot line of the existing property. For the proposed structure in my plans, if somebody wants to screen share to show it again, the actual distance from the curb to the proposed new building's perimeter wall is still well over 20 feet. And when I read into what Julie is referencing in her letter pertaining to the 29.5 feet site visibility triangle, my understanding is that the primary concern with that is usually with reference to parking spaces, and where I'm proposing a parking space for the next unit is at the back, which is still well away from the corner and shouldn't encroach on the 29.5 foot site visibility triangle of the point of intersection.
Okay. Julie, are you there? Are you with us?
Sorry, I am, but I can't start my video. It says the host has stopped my video, so.
Oh. David, is there a way to turn her on? Turn her
Oh, I got it now.
video on? There we go. Okay.
There we go. Hi.
Hi.
Okay, hi.
So,
Go ahead.
yeah, you heard what Andrew said about the
Yeah,
actual positioning of the buildings and that. Does that help at all, or?
Oh, that's a huge difference. So in the picture, the aerial picture that you were just showing is the blue outline. Is that the proposed structure then?
I'd say ballpark, yeah, looking at it. I can't say for
Right.
sure if it would be moved a little more laterally or vertically one
Okay.
way or another, but it's still, it's not anywhere close to 4 feet from the
No,
from the
no,
curb.
and
If it was
that's
4 feet from the curb, I completely understand the concern. It'd be
yeah,
very, very
no,
different.
absolutely. So in trying to interpret the sketch that came with the letter, I just assumed that the dark
Yeah,
line
that's the
was
property line though, not the
roadside.
actual
So
curb.
yeah, no, that's a big difference. I do still have a concern about parking. It's going to be a 2-story building with a rental property, so it would still require more parking for the people living there, right? And right now we do have a lot of parking along McNorton Street, and it already is so difficult to see when you're on St. Pierre turning, say you're turning left, because everyone speeds from that intersection at the light at Tecumseh, or not Tecumseh, Les Bronce and McNorton. They speed from that intersection up to Lacoste. And when there's cars and the trucks parked along there, because the trucks have been parked along there just during construction, which I guess we're thinking, okay, it's temporary, that's fine. But it has been a concern a few times. When leaving, I've been nervous, and I've actually turned right a few times, just to avoid any difficulty.
Yeah,
Um,
for a solution for parking on that, I've done what I can to maximize the off-road parking for the property, and I even waited for the new legislature to be passed that would grant me the ability to have the accessory residential unit in the basement with the less in-depth parking that would have previously been required before the legislature passed. But otherwise, the reason that I got the parking in the back of the property as opposed to the front is to try and alleviate some of that so that there is not a impediment to the visibility from the corner.
Okay, and that's fair. I'm just looking at the aerial view, and you still have the garage, which obviously isn't there anymore for the actual 905 property. But is that not where you intend to have parking for 905?
For 905, that's a separate pending issue that I don't know what is being done right now with response from the clerk, but right now all I'm seeking is just the change in the variance to give me some easement for what will eventually be 903 St. Pierre.
Okay. Okay, just because then we're talking about parking for both properties, which ends up being on the road, right? And we already have a lot of road parking because it's an older neighborhood. Not everyone has a driveway already in the street of St. Pierre. There's a few easements people have put in, but I'm just concerned. We do have a lot of school bus. There's 3 school bus stops right here. I guess I'm concerned about the increase in traffic and where people are going to park.
Yeah,
Okay.
what's currently being
Okay.
pursued by me for 905 is hopeful alley access to park in the back where the shed once upon a time would have been, but that's separate to what I'm here for today.
Right. Okay, I'm going to do a couple things here. One is you're looking at that overhead drawing, Chad, the overhead video or picture. We have that back. So I think, yeah, that's the same picture I have. So there's a huge fir tree that's outside the lot line now.
It's not there anymore.
Oh, okay. It's a 2022 picture. You got it out of there quick. Okay, but when that tree was there, did you, Julie, did you have the same issue about parking, about sight lines? Because that tree would certainly present more of a obstacle than this house is going to.
So the tree was older, so the bottom of the tree didn't have a lot of the foliage. So it didn't really block your sight. Like where the trunk is?
If it's of any comfort, Julie, I have no intention to build a actual privacy fence along that part of the new property that would otherwise completely block off the wall. I intend to have the property to the curb and to the side of McNorton be completely open, just so that it has the presentation of more space for sale down the road one day. But similarly, for the sake of keeping some visibility there, I don't have any plan of building a fence along the property line.
Okay. In the interest of moving this along, Chad, can you give the administration view on sightline and parking for this project?
Certainly, Mr. Chair, through you. So the relief for parking is only for the lot on which this blue outline is shown. And that's just my rough sketch of approximately where the new dwelling is proposed. So, it meets the front yard. It's 25 feet back from the lot line here. And it's roughly 53 feet in depth, 54 feet in depth. Again, it's almost 5 feet from the lot line here. And then there's additional 20 feet of boulevard space out to the travel portion of the road. And this is the area in which the parking, on-street parking, can take place in McNorton. And I do understand the concerns, given the speed at which vehicles do tend to use McNorton and traveling both east and west. The parking that Mr. Butler is proposing is one space for the new dwelling and one space for the ARU, the basement ARU, and that parking is going in this area here. He will have to address parking for this lot as well. And I would recommend to the committee that be made a condition of severance. And my understanding was that was going to be done through driveway access off of St. Pierre. But he will have to provide the two spaces for the current house. And I understand Mr. Butler just mentioned that he'd like to have alley access to his existing garage, which is something that can be done, but there are some discussions that would have to take place with administration prior to that happening. Discussions surrounding upgrading of it and maintenance of the alleyway.
Okay. All right. Let me see, I lost my picture of everybody here. There we go. So is there anyone else who'd like to speak to this? I see it. Carlo DeLuca. Oh, Melanie. Oh, sorry. You're in an unexpected place. Okay. Go ahead.
We live directly across the street. My husband and I are both here. And like Julie said, there's a lot of concern because I know at our house in particular, we have 2 bus stops that are at our house right out front daily. And across the street, there's another one right in front of 905. And like Julie said, it's really difficult to see. Even when I come out of our driveway and I try to turn left, it takes a really long time to make sure that it's safe. So if we're gonna have 3 bus stops within, right in front of 905 and right in front of 906, it's a safety hazard to, make those extra spots. What we're gonna have available is where the construction vehicles are right now, because Andrew and his workers all park along there. It's nearly impossible to see. And like you said, that speed that's coming off of there, off of McNorton and L'Esperance, people coming through, they're just gunning to go to Lacoste. So it's just a safety concern. That is my biggest one with the parking, is just that's going to be, we thought it was temporary. So we haven't said anything because we thought, okay, construction will be done. We won't have that any longer. But now that it will be a possibility of being continuous, we have to live here, right? These are our homes. It's not rental for us. It's not something that we're going to sell probably anytime soon. So we want to make sure it's the safest that we can.
Okay. Chad?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Is there temporary parking there now, or is that always been?
There's parking there, but it's not something that would be exacerbated by this proposal necessarily, but it's something that could be looked at through, if someone were to write a letter to the clerk asking the town to investigate the appropriateness of on-street parking in that location when you weigh it against the existing traffic conditions. I drove by there, to look at the property today, and I did see that there were 3 construction vehicles parked there. And I suspect that normally there isn't parking there because there isn't a demand for it, right? And there's parking on St. Pierre Street already. So, yeah, that's not something that I would suggest is going to be aggravated by this proposal, but it's an existing, parking condition.
So parking is allowed there on McNorton on the south side?
of the road.
Okay. All right,
Can I ask one more question before we proceed?
sure.
If the parking is already permitted on the road and it's going to be taken place by one car or another, whether it be residents or just somebody in the area, I am, to Chad's point, don't know that I disagree that I don't think that the construction, and I know I'm biased, I don't think that the proposed building will increase or aggravate any further occupation of those parking spots, particularly when I will be adding the 2 proposed spots in the back of the property. And if visibility is the concern, again, I was hoping that it would be simple to follow suit, given that specifically the property that Melanie and her husband have across from me on St. Pierre has a fence similarly that would block some visibility if I were to likewise build one on my side. But again, that's not my proposal. I'm trying to increase the visibility.
I
Okay,
just wanted to add
thank
that.
you. No,
Okay,
hang on.
sorry.
We're getting into a back and forth here, and I have a rule about that in my head, so can you wait just a sec? I just wanted to point out that this application and what the committee needs to look at is relief from having 3 parking spots for this property. Is that right, Chad? Yes, so he wants to have 2 instead of 3. And Chad is suggesting that 905 that's remaining there will need to provide their 2 as well. Is that correct?
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
So the relief would be for 1 parking spot less than is required by the bylaw. Okay. And so the committee needs to put their mind to whether, given what you see as the situation there, if that's a problem in terms of sightline. Simple solution might be to move the no parking sign for the corner farther to the west a little bit to relieve that. That's one solution that we could think of as a remedy to try and deal with the concerns. In any case, I just offer that as a possibility. But the committee needs to look at this in terms of the sight line. It's mostly parking that's going to affect the sight line. The lot is already there and it's legitimately able to have a house on it. He's only asking for side yard relief for 5 feet instead of 10. Is that right, Chad?
It's 5 feet. It's 5 feet instead of 15 feet, Mr. Chair.
Instead of 50, oh, because it's a corner lot. Okay.
Corner lot. It's an exterior side yard relief he's looking for.
Well, if it was a 15-foot, he'd have in that area with a 30-foot lot, he'd only have 20 feet left to build a house on. So he obviously needs some relief, given that the lot is already there, was created a long time ago when maybe when cars didn't move so fast or weren't so big or whatever. Anyway, okay. So let's deal with the parking thing. I think we have, in terms of what the possibilities are and what the requirements will be and what the actual relief that's being asked for in parking. Is not really and then the side yard width being reduced by 10 feet.
Mr. Chair,
Does
just
that
to
really
be,
impact it?
just to be clear. Sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Chair. Just wanted to be clear. It's actually a 5 meter exterior side yard, which is 16.4 feet to be precise.
Oh, to be
Which
precise.
would, yeah.
You mean we have to be precise now?
Yeah, when we're dealing with minor variances, we do.
So it's 5 meters, so he's asking for 2? I'm sorry, I got so many maps. up.
1.52, Mr. Chair.
I'm sorry,
1.52,
1.52, which is
5 feet.
5 feet, okay. So a 5-foot side yard with no fence? Or a 15-foot side yard with a 6-foot fence, like the neighbor across the street? I think the side yard being by the house is probably okay, given that as the other option that he would have. Anyway, committee members have questions. Tony,
Through you, Mr. Chair, I guess my question would be, if my memory serves me correctly, this is the first ARU that we have dealt with.
yeah,
So I'm wondering if there is any updates from administration regarding the Ontario bill with regards to ARU, because I think there was some provisions in that bill with regards to parking as well, if my memory is okay.
Through Mr. Chair, Bill 23, parts of it were passed today, actually, and it establishes that municipalities must permit 3 units per lot in an urban area that's fully serviced like this one. Now, it doesn't stipulate the regulations, the provisions that might apply, sort of the conditions, criteria that have to be met to allow for those. The town currently has ARU zoning in effect that allows for both an ARU within the dwelling and as part of a separate detached structure, but it establishes criteria that have to be met for that ARU. And one is that 1 parking space for the ARU as a minimum is provided. So those, I'm not sure how the regulations that would further implement Bill 23 are going to unfold, but it's the direction from the provincial government is fairly clear that municipalities are to allow these as of right throughout their urban areas.
so to be clear then, to be precise.
Yeah.
1 parking spot for the ARU and 2 for the main dwelling.
That's what the current zoning bylaw establishes.
Okay. So the relief is being for one of the 3. Okay. Is that it, Tony? Thomas,
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. Chad, if we could put the aerial photograph back up, and just keeping in mind the 2 parking spots there.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, just bear with me. I clicked on the X and shut the map down, so I've got to open it up again. My apologies. Just give me a second or 2, okay? Okay, can everyone see that?
Yep.
yep,
So with respect to the parking is, I guess the driveway apron, will there be two driveway aprons, or will the two parking space be serviced by one apron?
Through you, Mr. Chair, by one apron. So the double wide driveway in this location where the existing driveway is.
So nothing changes there.
You may want to ask the question of the applicant, but my understanding is that it's going to be a little bit wider than what's currently shown here.
So there'll effectively be less parking, on-street parking then, is I guess what my question is.
Yeah, marginally so, yes.
And will maybe the applicant can address just how wide the apron is going to be, I guess. I assume at least 20 feet, 24 feet maybe.
That's to me, but yes, the intention would be that you can comfortably fit two cars side by side along the property and fit it in so that there would be less traffic on the road itself.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Just trying to figure out what exactly was going on there. Because there was some mention of access to that garage from the alley. And I'm wondering why, since it wouldn't even be on the new property.
It's pertaining to a different property, but not the one that I'm looking for the severances on today.
So the lot line on the proposal doesn't go all the way back to the back of that property. The blue line on Chad's
I think
rendition.
the blue line that Chad showed is just the footprint of the actual house construction. It doesn't
Oh, okay,
necessarily
sorry.
show the property line.
So that property, so you're trying to figure out if you can get an easement access across the back where your car now is?
For the
In the
existing
driveway?
structure that's currently there, yes. I'm hoping to follow suit with the house that is west of it, where you can see that the alley is used for parking space currently.
Right. Okay. So you could actually do a similar thing at the back of the new building if you can get access off the alley.
That's the plan for the existing structure. For the new structure, there's going to be just a newly installed driveway that you can similarly see the white truck is currently occupying, but slightly wider.
Okay. And can I ask why you wouldn't do the same thing off the alley for it?
I think just very similarly, just for less foot traffic and less congestion in the same paths. It wouldn't make really a difference, truthfully. I could. It would still be the same spaces that are occupied by the cars one way or another.
Right.
I just don't need to seek alley access for one property as opposed to two.
Okay.
But in any case, the pursuit is that both properties would have ultimately two on-site parking spaces that are off-road.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the wording of our motion. It doesn't need to really, to Tom's point, I think, doesn't need to specify the width of a driveway off McNorton. All it needs to specify is parking for two vehicles. And the relief is for the third one not being there.
Yes, that's correct. For what will eventually be 903 St. Pierre.
And then parking rearranged for 905. Or 905.
Yeah,
it remains.
the shed that you currently see in the back of that picture overhead right now has since been demolished, and
Oh, okay.
the intent would be a pad there so that there can be two spots occupied for 905. And then pending the approval of the variances we're looking for right now and the construction of a new property on the other lot, there'll be two lots similarly where the white truck is right now.
Okay. All right. Okay, Thomas,
Just have a question through you, Mr. Chair, to administration about
Yep.
the function of the alley. That alley do all the adjacent lots have access through that alley? Do they have a right of use of that alley? Or how does that work?
It's a municipally owned alley. It's open. It's not maintained, fully maintained by the municipality. So if the applicant was hoping to use that as an access to 2 parking spots on the existing dwelling at 905, there would have to be discussions on the treatment of that and the maintenance of it as well.
Would it likely, Chad, would it likely be modeled after the agreement for 908?
That's possible, Mr. Chair. That's a long-standing sort of use of that alley that by 908. That's the property to the west, correct?
Yeah. Okay, so, I mean, for everybody's watching, you can picture the same thing happening for 905, maybe. All right. Tom, you done, Tom? Sorry.
Yes, thank you, Chair.
I jumped in there. Tony,
Mr. Chair, I'm actually wondering if it would be safer to have the parking spaces accessed through the alley. Coming off of McNorton, if we made that driveway wider, it would eliminate 1 spot, but if we do it off the alley, it would not. The other advantage of it coming off the alley is you wouldn't be reversing it into McNorton. You would always be driving out forwards through the alley.
well, yeah, remember, it's a 30-foot width at the most, unless you do a turn into it. The lot is 30 feet wide. So a pad for 3 cars could only be 24, 26 feet at the most. Anyway, we're not here to design that, I guess. We're here to decide if we could allow 2 or not. If we say no, we'll have to ask the proponent to come back with an option that allows a 3. And he's going to have enough to do to get it for the existing 905, I think. Yeah. Or you could rent a space from 906. I don't know. Anyway, any other comments from you, Andrew? Oh, hang on. Daniel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to administration, I know that if the application is approved tonight, there were several conditions that would need to be added to the approval process. And my first question is, why wasn't some of those things brought to the application to begin with? Because there's probably 4 different things that the applicant has to do to satisfy the approval, and then also to help with the neighbors and the sight lines that they're concerned about. Why hasn't Public Works made more comment about the parking issues that are on McNorton as they speak today?
Through you, Mr. Chair. With respect to the parking issue, I guess it just hasn't been identified as a problem to date, because as I mentioned earlier, there's not a lot of usage of the parking along that side of McNorton currently. There's available parking on St. Pierre, and there's available parking on most of the north-south streets that lead into or feed into McNorton. But that's because it's been raised tonight. That's something that administration, if prompted, can look into. The only condition that I've suggested be added to it, we aren't recommending any conditions, but given the discussion on the parking and the need to provide 2 spaces, I would recommend to the committee that that parking, the 2 spaces for 905 be addressed as a condition of the variances that are being requested for the the lot to the north, the vacant lot. I'm not aware of any other conditions, might be mixing that up with the number of issues of relief that have been applied for.
Chad, I was you made mention about something about some kind of, program with the town regarding the alley and the upkeep. That's what I was also asking that. You said it had to be a condition as well.
So, sorry, through you, Mr. Chair, that would be part and parcel of addressing the two spaces that are necessary for the existing 905 dwelling. Yeah.
But again, as I said, it's not up to us to design this. It's up to us to see that there is a possible solution and to either approve or deny it on the basis of those possible solutions that we've seen. The proponent will have to do what's necessary to make those happen before the variance would be finalized anyway. So I think we can deal with it tonight. Thomas.
Just a comment, so maybe a question to it seems that the issue with parking on McNorton has really only been a problem during the construction activities today. It's not been a problem in the future. Is that correct?
Well, we don't know if it's a problem in the future, I think.
Well, I mean, I guess in the past, is what I meant. I mean, that
Yeah.
It hasn't been a problem in the past. It's really been exacerbated because of the construction activities of late. And
Sorry to interrupt. May I speak to that?
sure.
Okay,
Through
and
your
that's,
chair.
sorry, I apologize. Am I okay to speak?
Yeah, go ahead.
We've lived here for 5 years and it's never been a problem up until now. That's why we have the concern. It's just since the construction started that we've noticed the problem. And like we said, we were just thinking it was temporary. So we weren't concerned, you take your extra time, you look, but it's not safe. Like when we're trying to pull out of the come down St. Pierre and turn left. So it's just been since the construction that there's been multiple vehicles on there. So just to think that it's going to be possibly permanent in the future, that's where our concern is. All of the other variances, that doesn't concern us. It's the safety. That's all.
So okay, so then there will be construction, or if this is approved tonight, there will be construction for the next, 6-7 months, I assume. And those vehicles will be different probably in nature than the vehicles that would park there once it becomes a residential dwelling.
Often it's their F-150s, which my husband also has, but it's just F-150 trucks that are parked there, and it still does cause a hard sightline.
I understand that, but I guess my point is it's going to be temporary until construction is done. This is not a permanent problem.
Well, sorry.
There's no way that Melanie can predict who's going to want to park there. It just happens that there is construction going on and there are trucks parked there right now. When the construction is done, they could go away, but somebody else could decide to park there at one of the other houses around there. There's parking available there. And that's the problem as I see it. If there's parking available there, then the range down the street that the parking can happen could be modified. In other words, there could be no parking from the corner back, 100 feet to allow one car to park east of that existing driveway to allow a spot where a tenant could possibly park if they got there in time. If there's a Santa Claus parade on Lacasse or on L'Esperance, there's going to be cars parked from there down to down to the corner, down to the other end of it to Lacasse. And so there'll be times when it'll be jammed up. Yeah, as long as parking is allowed. The only real solution, if that's a real problem for these residents, is to petition for no parking on that side of the street. And if they put that petition in, council will have to decide whether or not it's allowed. So I don't know that anybody can definitively say that parking there is going to be a problem forever or not. I don't know if that helps or not, just muddies the water more or whatever. Anything else? Anybody else? Nobody else? Time for a motion of some kind then?
If I can just add one more time, Mr. Chair, if parking has always been available there and they've always been spots, then it's been there long preceding me then. Anyway, I digress.
Yeah, I don't think that's really helpful.
Yeah.
Other than to say it hasn't been a problem till now. So, okay. Anybody? We don't go home until somebody puts their hand up. Thomas.
Chair, just a clarification. So we could not put a condition that the stop sign or the no parking sign be moved. That's something that residents in the area would have to petition council for.
No, and if you want assigned on-street parking, the proponent would probably have to pay for it.
Yes. Then the other thing that was mentioned tonight would be a condition for parking to be allowed off of St. Pierre to the lot 903. Chad, that was your recommendation?
Through Mr. Chair, the recommendation was that the committee, if it decides to grant the variance and the relief that's being requested, it be done so conditional to the proponent providing, to the satisfaction of the town, 2 spaces for 905.
And 2 for 903.
That's the relief they're asking for.
Right.
903, would it permit 2 driveway spaces in the front?
Yes, it can accommodate 2 driveway spaces in the front.
Off of St. Pierre.
Yes.
Daniel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm prepared to make a motion to approve the application AR 18-22 as it does meet the 4 tests regarding the variances that are being applied for by the applicant. And in addition, the responsibility that he meets the requirements that Chad has set out for parking for his current residence, of which is 905. Is that right? 905, 903.
Right.
Does that cover all the requirements, Chad, that you're looking for?
Yes, it does. Through Mr. Chair, that would be that would suffice, in my
If I
opinion.
get a seconder. Paul. Any further discussion? From the committee? None? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for your patience. The committee's got to work their way through this always and have it in their mind that they're doing what's good for the neighborhood and for the proponent. So that's the best we could come up with tonight. So thank you very much for your attendance. And where's my agenda? It's over here. We had a deferral for Riverside Drive, 13038 Riverside Drive, which was a huge application with lots of questions from the committee. And I assume, Chad, that they weren't satisfied with what you could come up with for them, or they've withdrawn the application.
Mr. Chair, which application are you referring to, Mr. Chair?
A16 for 22. 13038. It's on my agenda as deferral, and it says application withdrawn.
That
Right.
was Ed Conte.
Yes,
Chad.
thank you, Daniel. Yes, that application was withdrawn. Yeah, they decided to investigate other options.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was a fairly substantial development of that property, and
Yeah.
And okay, they've withdrawn it, so that's good. We're done with it. Do we need to accept the withdrawal? No?
No, no.
Okay. Planning report. Oh, yeah, we had that. Is there any unfinished business? The only one that I can think of is further to the Sylvester application for the Maidstone Hamlet. And speaking with Chad today, he's going to establish some meetings with the planning department and council to see what can be done for that. If there's anything that could be acceptable for that to happen. Is that fair enough, Chad?
That's fair, Mr. Chair. The initial meetings will be with Public Works, Engineering, and Planning
Okay.
before going to council.
Unfinished business, any? Donna? No?
No, sir.
Any new business anybody has? So then the question I had, I guess it's under unfinished business. Is there any word on how many applicants there were for these positions and when the council might decide?
Do you want me to respond to that, Chad?
Whoever knows.
Yeah, certainly. You have a good handle on that.
Okay, so it's my understanding that applications are being brought before council at their December 13th meeting.
Okay.
So whether or not decisions will be made on that date or whether they're just being presented to council on the 13th.
So we have a meeting scheduled on the 12th. It'll still be us.
That's correct.
Okay.
And
Mr.
then
Chair, that meeting will again be subject to receiving applications by the end of the week for variance.
Yeah, right. Okay. Any other members of the committee want to talk about? Since we're 8 minutes late. Motion to adjourn. Tom and Daniel. All in favor? We're all in favor. Thank you.